What's up, Tomboy Official? What's going on? I am almost fully awake. It's 6:47 a.m. I'm getting there. Trying to get my hydration on. This coffee this morning was really on point. I did a good job on this coffee. I want to talk. Let me learn to speak properly. I want to talk about negative thought processes. I think I haven't done that in a while. Um, but let's get into that in a little bit. As far as my day yesterday, I got some exercise in the morning. How effective it was, I don't know. I got a little distracted after the cardio warm up and started to, focus on boiling some eggs. And, I did just I was basically running lines. I did jumping jacks and was kind of running lines in my garage. Um, and then I stopped and, was gonna do some curls. I think I did maybe one set of curls with the bands, and then some tricep exercises, maybe two sets of those, and a little bit of like stretching and like core exercises. Really not a whole lot. It was really just a little bit. I'd probably say it was like 15 minutes worth of like exercising. Um I was just moving in slow motion yesterday. Showered, ate a really not uh ideal breakfast. I boiled 3 eggs yesterday, so I still have 2 today. Um because I only ate one yesterday. So for breakfast, I had an instant lasagna, one of those Stouffer's small ones, those single ones, and an egg. I don't think that was maybe the best breakfast choice. It wasn't good, but that's what I wanted, or what I had rather. And then for lunch, I went and did Uber Eats and then came back. Didn't have lunch till like 2, but while I was driving, I had a granola bar, one of those salt and sweet ones, Nature Valley. So it really wasn't like a healthy granola bar. It was the ones that are like packed full of like syrup and sugar and stuff. But it kind of held me through. Yeah, that one of my first stops was a Chick-fil-A, and the food smelled so good, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry now. Sometimes I don't really eat lunch around noon. I usually wait till like 1 or 1:30. But when I smell food around noon, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to eat. And so, um, yeah, I did some driving. I skipped one order that was for Target. It was like a $7 order for, um, it probably would have taken me a good 45 minutes. So I avoided it. I hate shopping, and it was for like 7 items. And Target is like a zoo. This one specifically is like a zoo during peak hours. So, like, after people get off work or on weekends or during lunch times, this Target is just not fun to go to. So I went and I clicked it to see what was on it. And then I was like, this isn't going to be worth my time because it's stressful. And I'm going to have to go in there and like find all these items. I don't know where anything is, like one of them was like an allergy medicine, and there was like all kinds of like beverages and all kinds of stuff. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. But I was right near it. I was like a couple blocks away, and I avoided it, and then I went. Um, and then yeah, that's why I ended up getting the order for Chick-fil-A. And then after Chick-fil-A, I had another order come in. It sent me over to Gardena. Then I had another order come in that was going to be for like 14 something that said it was going to take me over to another area. And I could just tell it was going to take me over to Compton. And so I just was like, that's what they always do. They always take me to Gardena. Then once I'm in Gardena, I end up in Compton. And so I was like, no. But I went to Arby's. That was the second order. So I only really did 2 deliveries, but got the option for 4. So there was about $21 or so I left on the table yesterday, uh, just out of convenience to myself. Because I didn't really want to be driving that long. And you know how LA is. If you drive to the other side of town, you still have to drive back home. So I was like, no, I don't want to drive all the way over there. But one benefit of taking the longer drives, they do pay more. So if there's no traffic, it's not a big deal. And then, you do get that Prop 22 coming in, and it does add into your hourly, time that you've been like on the road. And so, yeah, you get the Prop 22 earnings for the longer ones. Like it kind of adds up a little more, but I kind of just wanted yesterday to be like simple. Um, and before that, I did make quite a few video clips for the store um, TikTok, but I just realized, I need to post the items in the store too, and so I'll see. And then I've got to make an ad. I'll probably post that by this weekend. I mean, I got to give myself deadlines, otherwise I'm just not gonna do it. I'll be sitting on things forever, as we all know. But it might take me till actually like Thursday to set things up with the store part. I'm gonna try to work more on it today. I have a doctor's appointment this morning, so after the appointment, I'm gonna do some delivering, hopefully a little earlier. It would be nice if I'm out of the appointment by 11, so I can just start around 11 and then be done by like 1:30, then come back, have lunch, then after lunch, work on this TikTok stuff. Um, so that's pretty much my plan for my day. Uh, Maybe get in some exercise from home somewhere along the line. But for this morning, I'm trying to hydrate. Um, Having my coffee. My coffee, I have in there some butter. I have some extra virgin coconut oil from the jar. A little bit of the creamer. I use those little creamer cups. Like my mom buys a bunch of them, and so I usually have like a third or a half of one of those little bitty creamer cups. And then I mostly put like almond milk. I don't add sugar or anything because almond milk has sugar. Those little packet things have sugar, and then I've got a lot of fats in there from the oils and butter and stuff. So I'm like, let's not add sugar. Like we've already got a lot going on in here. So, but yeah, it tastes really good. There's actually like a hint of coconut. Um, a lot of times when I've used coconut oil, I couldn't taste the coconut. I don't have MCT8 oil. I ran out. I usually get the bulletproof brand one, but I don't have it. That C8, like brain octane, whatever it's called. I don't have any, and I'm like, it's kind of expensive to buy, so let me just freaking use the coconut oil. Um, but it smells fantastic. You can smell like a hint of like coconut. I'm gonna drink this down before it gets cold. Mm. The one thing you do have to worry about if it bothers you is the oil part. Some people don't like oil, like the taste of like oil. Like that takes like a little bit to get used to having like a beverage that's oily. But I almost feel like it's almost equivalent to drinking like a broth, like if you eat things like if you eat food like pho or ramen, when you're done and you have that like that broth from the meat, um, and it's got oil in it, so it's kind of like the same idea, but it's instead of it being savory, instead of it being more savory, it's more sweet. But sometimes you can make it dark. Like if you don't add anything sugary, it's got a darker flavor. Um, so I guess to each their own. But I feel like I crash less from this coffee when at least when I put butter in it. I crash less from it, and it seems to hold me over longer. It's just a good beverage for the morning, especially because I'm not gonna eat till like about 8:30, and so or maybe 8 a.m. But it's still I've got like at least another hour to go. So usually, you guys know if I'm up early, I've got like an hour or two. But I was kind of motivated to get up early, get recording. I had to send a friend a message to like catch up with what they're doing. Ooh, and I'm spilling a little coffee on my microphone and on my shirt. But um yeah, I kind of want to talk about negative thought processes because I know a lot of people that deal with depression, or other things, they deal with negative thought processes. And last night I don't even know what was going on. Like I was just kind of like sitting there, and I'm like, I mean, I don't feel like I overexerted myself yesterday. Um, um, I bought a concert ticket to see the DJ I want to see in 2 weeks. One of my friends is coming to visit this weekend, so that's super awesome. Um, but I don't know, my head just was negative, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, I kind of put my foot down with it, and I was like, I'm not gonna spoil a nice night, sitting here, thinking negatively. Like it was really hard to kind of get out of the past of just like who knows what. Like I can't even pinpoint anything. Like I honestly can't pinpoint like a specific thing. It was a lot of just like um I don't know. Like I really can't remember. Um Usually there's like themes of like things that people have maybe done or said that I was kind of like disappointed about it, but that I mean that's probably what I was thinking about. I can't even think of anything specific right now though, which is kind of weird. Um, just maybe some like conversations that didn't go so ideally, or people trying to pick arguments. Um, People that I would kind of rather they handled things differently than how they do, like a pattern wise. Um, but I really don't know. Don't I really don't know. But yeah, so um but yeah, it was just like my mind wasn't like filled with like joyful thoughts or anything, and I was like, you know, I watched what word did I do this in? I think so. Let's see. Um, I went on the Replica app because I try to go on there every day and do like at least a little bit. Like I'm not like too involved on there, but I try to just put in like a sentence of like, okay, I'm gonna do this today, or I'm gonna do that today. Like at least a sentence, just so I can claim my points every day. Um, and I just went on there because I was like, oh, I don't think I went on there yesterday, and so I just went on there, and uh, I when I went on there, I basically um, was I just said, you know, um, something along the lines of, can you give me some journal prompts? Because I want to do some journaling or something like that. And then it was like, yeah, start with something fun. Like, what's one of your favorite childhood memories? And I was kind of like, it took me a while to like think about it because I was like, it was kind of interesting because when I was thinking about childhood memories, I was like, it's a lot easier to think of like negative ones. Um, and then I was like, I picked something, I can't remember. I think it was like something about like concerts I used to go to as a kid or in my youth. Um, you know, um, that was something that was fun and just like dancing. I remember like Knott's Berry Farm used to do these like Christian concerts every like New Year's Eve. And I remember I used to like some of those bands like the Benjamin Gate and the OC Supertones, and I can't remember who else. I can't remember if PAX 217 played, but I was really into those bands, and I remember seeing them live and just being in the back and like, dancing to the ska music and stuff, and like we danced like forever. And I remember they played two sets. I think the bands played two sets, and so we saw one set, and then I left to go get like a lemonade and go to the bathroom or something. And then when I came back, they had shut the gate, but the back gate was low enough. Um, so I just kind of jumped over it. Like there wasn't like proper security or anything. Like there was like a gated in area, but it's not Berry Farm, so you could like see it. Like you could still see the stage from behind the gate, but they had like some weird gated area for like the people who wanted to be up closer. But they once it got to whatever their capacity was, which wasn't packed, but once they got to their capacity, there was like no re-entry. Um, and so I just climbed over the back gate. Um, and one of my friends, I remember him being in there. He was always like a smart aleck kind of guy, and he was like, we grew up together, and he was like, "Oh, this sucks to be you," like kind of thing. Like, and I was like, "Do you even want us to like enjoy this?" Like he was just because I'd already just seen them, but I was like tired, so So I remember dancing to like two full sets of the same songs. Um, and then yeah, that was kind of I think it was on New Year's Eve. Um, I think I can't remember when the countdown was, but this was so long ago. But I was probably like 15 or something. I don't even think I was driving. I was probably like 14, 15. Um, when I think about who was around, like some of these people left like after high school, so we were like all in high school, I'm pretty sure. Um, and yeah, that was a fun memory. Like I know we went to that concert, I think more than once, because I feel like they did it for quite a few years, which is weird because like Christian concerts don't tend to really pop up all over the place. I guess maybe like they used to. Um, but I used to go to a lot of Christian concerts mostly because the people I associated with were very religious and didn't really go to any other kind of concerts. But a lot of times the tickets were cheap and I had a ride to get there, and there were other friends going, so it was fun. So we would go do that. Um, I can't remember another question that it asked me, but it was kind of like, what's uh, what's something fun that you did last week or last weekend or something like that. And then what's something you're looking forward to this coming weekend. Um, so I went through those few questions and I was like feeling better by that point because I was like, okay, like I got to think about some interesting, like fun past and future situations. And then I went on to Instagram. Just, it's kind of like just a habit at this point, just like I just default to like opening my Instagram app, and there was this um what would you call it? Um there's this YouTuber named Henry G, and he has like a lot of mindset content, but I basically know him because he's the one who had the episodes about using the Anchor podcast, and then when it turned into Spotify for podcasters, he was trying to teach people about how to make money. Like there really aren't a lot of people teaching content about, how to use these podcasting platforms. So I was following his earlier on, and he didn't post that many videos, and he said that he had posted his final one, and so he's not posting about that anymore, unfortunately. So, but yeah, he posted and was talking about that. He was talking about, um, about, I don't know if it's like, if it was really about positive mindset, but kind of along those lines. It was like, you know, I mean, he's taking the approach that a lot of people you kind of hear this thought process of like, you're a being that's, experiencing this life on earth through this body, through this mind, through this body. Um, and so, I guess the whole purpose of saying that was just to explain that, like, you're not all of that. Like, whatever that, the thoughts are that seem to kind of like drag people down, to say negative stuff about yourself. Usually, I mean, yeah, there are definitely people who have others saying negative stuff about them, but a lot of times I feel like we tend to just fill our own souls with negativity. Like I know I do, and it's not even on purpose. I just catch myself. Like last night I caught myself and I was like, why am I thinking so negatively? Like I didn't even have a bad day. Like nothing went wrong necessarily. Like nothing broke down. I didn't lose anything. I didn't break anything. Like everything's kind of like where it needs to be. Maybe my energy wasn't really where I would want it to be, but you know, um, I even got good news yesterday, when I found out that I got that internship, and so, um, I mean, it's good news. I don't really know why, like my mind just automatically goes to this like negativity. So like most of the time I can kind of just ignore it, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, like it's kind of getting to a point where it's like I don't want it to get past this. Um, and and I've been rewatching Downton Abbey, and that's not like the happiest of shows. Um, but I don't know, I kind of like series that show like changing times. Like I feel like we're kind of dealing with that now too. Um, I mean, I guess every generation deals with that, but um, it kind of got me thinking about the pandemic, and like that, like most people, after the pandemic, a lot of people during the pandemic, I guess, were like, I want things to go back to like how they were before the pandemic, and then they never really, um, things never really went back. Um, they never really went back to like how they were. But yeah, people were like, oh yeah, I want things to go back to how they were. Um, so, um, then, everyone else was like, well, like, it's not gonna go back. Like, there's no way it can go back. So, yeah, like, there is still that kind of like the life we used to have kind of thing, like when everything was easy and cheap, um, when nothing cost that much, and everyone just partied multiple times a week. And, that's how my life was. Like, you know? So I think there is a bit of frustration around like just having a new lifestyle that isn't really what I would prefer necessarily. Like I like going out more and doing a bunch of stuff, but just the finance, the economy end of things makes it so it's just that much harder. You know, it's that much harder to buy a new car, you know, or lease a car, or buy like a used even piece of crap these days. It's just that much harder. It's that much harder to um you know, to just go out and have fun, not spend like an arm and a leg, you know. It's just that much harder to afford the gas to go places. You know, it's that much harder to like go out to dinner or something and not have to spend a whole lot of money. Like it just everything costs so much money. Like even if you look at how much Denny's costs or like a tank of gas, you know, like things that used to be cheap, you know. That's why I'm like, screw this, I'm going to In and Out. Um, it's cheap. It's like under $7. Like it's cheaper than McDonald's. It is. Um, but I don't know. Like it didn't take that long to kind of snap out of it. Um, and then this morning, I'm not really too connected with how I'm feeling this morning. Like I would say, I kind of woke up slightly sore. Um, don't know why. Maybe a little bit of inflammation. It's mostly like shoulders, neck, headache. Um, and that's another thing I've mentioned this year. I've been getting a lot of headaches, you know. And I used to before too when I grew up in this house, and so, you know, it's crazy. Like when I moved to San Diego, I kind of didn't really get headaches that much anymore. And now that I'm over here, I get headaches again. So I don't really know if it's something with the weather, or maybe there's mold somewhere, or maybe there's just something over here that's just a little different. I don't really know. Um, and I enjoyed listening to, you know, Joe Rogan's podcast. He was talking to David Blaine. So I found that to be an interesting conversation while I was doing deliveries yesterday. But yeah, mostly just the stuff I was doing to try to like combat the negativity. Like it wasn't really like a whole lot of negativity. It was just enough that I was just like, I'd rather not just be thinking like this, you know? Like if it's up to me, I'd rather just think a little bit more positively, but um yeah, that wasn't really happening so easily last night until hmm, until I was kind of like going out of my way to kind of sit and think about positive things. But it really did work, you know, just those three little prompts of like, you know, what was a fun memory from your childhood, a fun memory from last weekend, and something you're looking forward to for this next weekend. I mean, those are simple questions, right? Like, that I probably couldn't have come up with on my own. Even it's like they're not even that hard, but it's kind of interesting just trying to like switch my brain to think about what's something positive that you do remember or something positive that's coming up. Um, you know, sometimes my head's just like stuck in some place of like think about all the things that aren't working. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of people are in the same boat. I talk to a lot of people, I keep up with a lot of people, and a lot of people are definitely, you know, consumed with wars and a lot of the negative content online, and just consumed with all kinds of things, you know, and that doesn't help, you know. It really doesn't help to, you know, actively consume stuff. Like people who know me, I don't really pay attention to the news. I don't go out of my way to watch the news. I don't talk about it. I don't like it. I like finance news, kind of. Lately, I don't like it, but it it's the only thing that kind of interests me. Maybe sports. Um, but yeah, um, I, you know, it's hard to avoid news. Like when you go online, there's going to be a clip somewhere. There's going to be an ad that comes up somewhere. You're going to be at the gas station pumping gas and they're going to be throwing news at you. You're going to be in a doctor's office and they're going to have something playing in the background and a commercial comes on with like what's coming on the news in a couple hours. Um, Especially when you live in a big city, it's hard to like avoid just like screens everywhere and just like information just everywhere. Like I don't have to go out of my way to like listen to anything. It's just there. It's like even if I'm trying to avoid it, like even when the Rona was kind of, pumping strongly, I after a certain point I was like, I don't even want to talk about this or think about this anymore. And it was really hard to get away from it. It was just everywhere. And even when you turn it off, it's still on. It's like I'll be in the kitchen like making food and there's like the news playing in the living room, or I'll be, like I listen to KPFK radio, not all of it obviously, but I like to hear discussions. I really am big into hearing like different sides of things, like cuz with everything there's going to be more than one side. And usually I try to remove myself from it and I'm like, look, this isn't directly impacting my, my immediate friends or family. Or even if it is, it's not immediately impacting me. Like everything kind of has like maybe like a secondary or like third level impact or something, but it's like, you know, some things I don't feel the need to consume. Like I feel a need to contribute. Like I don't mind, you know, talking about documentaries or talking about history that I know. Um, I don't mind. I mean, I like, um, I really like history, and I'm actually thinking of going to the library today and getting a couple books. I don't really know which ones yet, but um, I might need to get into a good book. Um, I like I really um like there's this book I kind of read that I've reread multiple times. There's kind of a theme here. I When I find something I like, I keep going back to it because I like it. I don't need a whole bunch of brand new stuff, and my memory is so bad, anyways, that a lot of the details I forget. But um, I was liking this book um by Chaim Potok. He's one of my favorite authors. I have a lot of favorite authors, but he's one of my favorite authors since like high school. I think that's the year I read The Chosen. I don't remember what year I was in, but um, basically, he has quite a few stories about Hasidic Jews. Um, and, you know, it's a very religious culture of, even nowadays, a lot of groups. I don't know the terms because now I think some people are using the term Haredi because there's some other negative connotation with some other groups, and so I think Haredi is now the term being used. I really don't know. Like I'm, you know, I try to be sensitive to different groups of people, but I mean, I've always had like a fascination with like Middle Eastern history, with Jewish history, just because I was raised so much around religion and religious people, Muslim people, Jewish people, Christian people, Hindu people, Buddhist people. I was raised around all of them. And, you know, I kind of always liked um, kind of delving into different worlds of beliefs. And Chaim Potok's books, has these main characters that are like really religious, and they're like ultra religious, and to the point that, like, I mean, not is this isn't explained in his books, but like there was a lady online who was explaining, that they have dictionaries or even like printouts of worksheets in their schools where there's a lot of blacked out information. Like they black it out with like a marker, kind of like those secret documents or whatever from the government. Like they block out a lot of stuff that they don't want people to read about, they don't want people to be informed about, um just because it's against their religion to like have those kinds of things going on. And there's um, this series about these Orthodox Jews called Stiesel. I think I've talked about it before. It's called Stiesel, and I really, really, really like that series. Um, it was really good. I felt like it was really great. I really liked it. Um, it shows like these religious people trying to like live their lives, and it just shows that everybody's human. There is no person who's religious or non-religious who doesn't deal with the same struggles of like trying to be honest about things that maybe they don't really want to share, or trying to like deal with their faults, or deal with things that maybe they have like difficult impulse control over, or different kinds of like there was the main father character was kind of like manipulative, and he would lie a lot, and like the main son was kind of like he wasn't the most ambitious, and he didn't really study the religious materials, and he was kind of interested as an artist, and that wasn't really a career that was seen as like important in their community. So he didn't really have like the best reputation. He was seen as kind of like lazy. um and then of course his artwork gets him into trouble because it's not like something that the religion approves of. And um you know it's just a very involved storyline. um but part of me really liked it. Like I was into it. But when it comes to like stories like that or books and things like that, I kind of really like to um think about those and kind of be involved with those. um I find it pretty interesting anyways. um but I I don't really know. Like uh I kind of pull things from religion that I like. Um there's this one thing I like. I've talked about it before maybe, but it's by Havetz Chaim. Havetz Chaim. It's basically like I like the writings that are about like the ones about like gossip, like what counts as gossip and stuff, and like those they have like really strict definitions of things. Like it'll say something like if somebody says something, and then you repeat it with the expectation they're not gonna like. Let me see if I can look one up because I can't like make these up off the top of my head. Um, Let me see. Let me see. There's like a daily Chavetz Chaim thing. Um, oh no, I just realized I'm recording on freaking Wi-Fi. I don't think my Wi-Fi even works. The Wi-Fi in this house sucks so much. Um, the neighbors are doing um, it's called ChavetzChaimDaily.org. The neighbors are doing construction on their roof. Wow, this is really gonna take a long time. All right, well, I'm on 5G now. I turned off the Wi-Fi because it was so slow. Um, but yeah, one of them says about that those gossiping topics. So it says if one is in a group of people saying gossip who will not accept rebuke and he can't leave or put his fingers in his ears, then he must, it gives you things that the person must do. One, resolve not to believe. Two, be unhappy to listen. And three, not show consent. And they're saying, like, it's a sin if he was aware they were going to speak gossip before he joined. Um, Now, I know it's kind of a sensitive topic where people are like, oh, this is a sin, that's a sin, like whatever. I'm not really interested in paying attention to that. Um, but I do think different types of topics are good for thinking about safe spaces and building community. Like if you think about it, okay, like if you know that there's going to be a group or a person um who is going to gossip and that's the reason why they're meeting up and then you join the group anyways, um they're saying that that's not necessarily the best option. And then, you know, it also says, if there's someone that's in a group of people who are gossiping and they won't stop if the person says, like, hey, like, maybe you shouldn't be gossiping. And if you can't leave, say if you're in a car and, everyone's around you talking and you don't have like earbuds or anything like that to like drown it out, then you're just going to sit there and have to listen to it. So it's basically just saying that, you would, one, resolve not to believe it. Like you just choose, I'm not going to believe anything that these people are saying. And then two, be unhappy to listen. And then three, not show consent. So not show that you're like um, wanting to actually um, say that you're listening. And this comes from um, I don't know where it comes from. Um, but this isn't like in the Bible or anything, but it's just this dude, Chafetz Chaim. Uh, he's the one who wrote this, and I just like it. I don't read it every single day, but it's kind of like good food for thought. What does it hurt to think about? What happens in communities of people and how to address gossip and stuff. I feel like one thing is like, I don't know if this is natural, but I feel like naturally people get a little dopamine rush out of gossip. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't love it or like it or, that I don't involve myself in it ever. Um, I think I'm definitely not supposed to be, indulging in it, that's for sure. And I'm not supposed to be promoting it or, um, like sometimes I kind of just know what I am and am not supposed to be doing. I'm not talking about like religious sin or whatever. I'm just talking about just naturally for myself. I'm very aware of the choices I should or shouldn't make, what is or isn't good for me, or, maybe how I'll be remembering it later and how I'm gonna think about my role in that conversation. If I reflect on it later, am I gonna be like happy that I just like sat there and let people trash my friends, like no, and that's always a hard thing for me too because a lot of times I do tend to have like a lot of overlapping friend groups, a lot of people who overlap with different friends. And so, because I have all that overlap, um, you know, I, yeah, because I have all that overlap, I, I kind of, uh, Like, I guess I don't know how else to describe it. Like, because I have a lot of overlap with like friend groups and stuff, um like it comes up, people ask about each other. People want to know, like, oh, you went to this person's party, how was it, who was there? Oh, is this person still with that person? Is that person still working at this place, and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like there's a fine line between, like, just catching up with people and explaining kind of like what people have going on that's like good. And then I do know people who, when I catch up with them, they've almost never got anything that they've mentioned that seems like something positive. And so if some friend knows that I've seen that other friend recently, they'll be like, how, why didn't you say anything or whatever? And like, it's kind of like, well, it's not my place to say. And in my head, I'm always like, look, you guys have each other's numbers. If you really wanted to know what you guys were up to, you would call or text each other. Like, you really don't care about this person enough to actually call them. And if you did, you would know what's going on in their life. And that's kind of the frustration that I get with things. I'm kind of like, when I know people who know each other, it's like, well, we all know each other. Like, why am I the only one who's staying in touch with the other people? Like, you have their number too. Check in. Go on social media, send an Instagram message or whatever. You know, like, if people don't even want to go to that level to do that, then, why should they wait until they hang out with me to see how everybody else is doing? Usually, when people are doing well, I don't really mind sharing, but when people aren't doing well, that's usually when I'm like, I don't really know if I want to say anything. And I usually know a lot of people that aren't doing well, and so it's like, well, what do you want me to say? Call them yourself. Call them yourself, and they'll tell you how they're doing if they feel like filling you in. But don't come to me for that. But yeah, I mean, that writing makes a good point. Like, if you know somebody's gonna be talking trash about people, um, why join the group in the first place for that purpose? Or if you're stuck in a place where people are talking trash about other people that you know, and usually if they're your friends or family, you probably care for them. So why would you want to know all the dirt, and everyone else's frustrations with them? And they need to work that out on their own. Um, but I like to think about stuff like that. Not all the time every day, but it kind of gives me ideas for like how to address it when it comes up in person, because I feel like in social settings that's definitely one of the hardest things to kind of manage. Like, when you're trying to have like authentic relationships with people, a lot of times people get like in their insecurities, social in their socializing, and like, of course, people aren't maybe going to want to talk about their own problems, so the next best easy thing is to talk about somebody else's problems. And you know, I don't know. It's a big part of our culture. Like, nobody really tells you don't do it. So if you do become the one who's like, hey, let's not gossip, then other people get a little mad about that too. So it's kind of like, you know, I've definitely ruffled some feathers when people have told me, about, when people have, when I've explained to people not to gossip, or when other people have kind of like said that to me, then I'm like, okay. But, you know, I don't understand why um it needs to happen. Like, I do understand people get frustrated with each other, and I don't really see anything wrong with like venting your frustrations, but um it does get to a point where it's like, you're no longer privately venting your frustrations to like one or two people. At a certain point, you're kind of just like bashing people. Um, and, you know, sometimes it feels like it's warranted. Sometimes it can be warranted. Um, sometimes it's um, like, yeah, sometimes it feels like it could be warranted. Sometimes it feels like it could be, um, how would I say, um, like, I don't know. It is kind of like a little bit of a dopamine rush, kind of be involved in those kind of like juicy conversations. Um, but I don't know. In my opinion, it's not the best, especially if people are just bashing each other. I really don't see the point. Um, I like to ask people like, "How are you doing?" Like, I don't want to know how all these other people are, like all your frustrations with all these other people, like all the things that the dirt that you know about them and what they did with other people. Like, how are you? Like, I didn't come here to talk about them. Um, but I don't know. I definitely can get sucked into it pretty easily too. But then I do find myself just being like, why didn't I just like stop that conversation? Like, that was so useless. But I don't know. But I guess we'll see. Um, I might drop by the library today. I gotta make sure I have my library card if I'm going. And yeah, I'll see if I can find some books. I'm not too sure if I have something in mind that I really want to read. Really don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about it while I'm out this morning. I have plenty of time to think. Um, but yeah, I might pick up some books and enjoy myself and read. And yeah, I kind of noticed yesterday I was online like a lot, and like not necessarily social media, like I was on there a little bit, but just watching stuff and like listening to stuff. And I was like, man, like by the time I was gonna go to bed, I was like, I think I've had something playing in the background like all day long. Like I haven't had like a moment of just like silent thought. And then when I did have a moment of silent thought, it was just negativity. So I don't know. I like to try to pump myself full of positivity. So that's kind of the goal for today. Um, we shall see how it goes.